When you eat pasta, you are essentially sending a hormonal message to your body saying, pack on more fat. That's what's happening. So even without cakes and chocolate, pasta itself turns into sugars in your body. That's what makes you gain all the weight.
Well, that's it. We're throwing our pasta out, Peter.
All pastas, lasagna, all of it.
We're done. All this stuff.
You even do, no. It just happens so we can look at it.
No, we're cutting it out of our diet. We are done with pasta. We are done with spaghetti. We are done with linguine, fettuccine.
Fettuccine doesn't count.
It absolutely counts. No more pasta.
Just have a bowl of spaghetti, come on.
No.
What happened to you? What happened?
No more pasta for you or me. Okay? It's over. We're done.
Okay.
TBTL. He is a fan of the outrageous. He loves to surprise. He loves other things as well.
Oh, this is the best pizza in a cup ever. This guy's unbelievable. He ran the old cup of pizza guy out of business.
Game day, bucket, go, boom.
But it's not on TV. That's just an internet thing, okay?
The only thing that's nice about this is even though it's a Tuesday, it feels kind of like it's a Friday.
All right, hello, good morning, and welcome everyone to a Tuesday edition of TBTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live.
Isn't that for techno geeks with spreadsheet?
My name's Luke Burbank. I am your host.
Hey, cheer up. It's Taco Tuesday.
Coming to you from the Madrona Hill studio, perched high above the mighty Columbia, where I had an absolutely ridiculously arduous journey this morning trying to get back home, back here to the Madrona Hill studio.
You gotta be kidding me.
I had to run down to the Portland area early this morning to get some service done on my car, and I didn't know if I was actually going to be able to record the program today. There was a point where I thought, well, maybe I just live in the woods of Richland, Washington. We'll get into that here on episode 4715 in a collector series.
Let the fun begin.
Also, Andrew and I think, tend to be fairly understated about this podcast. We don't like to talk about it with people out in the real world, and we make a lot of jokes at our own expense. But something happened related to a very, very popular and very, very well-funded podcast recently that
everyone's got a podcast
that made me a little proud of us. Actually, it made me feel like you know what, we're actually doing an okay job here in TBTL land. So we will talk about that. Oh, and speaking of my good friend Andrew Walsh,
oh la la,
you know him as the longest-running Cobra of the show, maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships, and he is joining me now after many hours of me texting him from the road saying, I'm not home yet. I'm sorry. I'm not home yet. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. You know, you described me as patient, and I do consider myself a patient man, but did I just hear a Howard Stern drop that I did not sign off on during sound check? Did you just sneak?
Yeah, everyone's got a podcast.
We rehearse. We rehearse, and then we forget it. But it seems like you forgot to play that during the sound check. But then you're like, well, it's okay. I'll just do it in the real product anyway. Like, this is where my patience hits its limit. You understand?
I know a guy who's at his limit with my shenanigans. I understand if you're having a hard time extending grace to me this morning because I've already thoroughly ruined things before we even got to recording. Yeah, I don't think I've ever been through something exactly like that, what just happened to me this morning, Andrew. So first of all, I've been ducking getting my car serviced for months, like 6 months. It's been telling me in fact, they mailed me a letter. The dealership mailed me a letter that said if I don't bring it in for regular service, it could invalidate my warranty. That's what finally tipped me over. And so and I'm going out of town. I'm going to L.A. For some work this week. So I was like, the last chance that I have to do this was early this morning. And really, all it was an oil change, and new spark plugs. So I ran it down. I ran the car down early this morning. I thought, I'll get this all done. I'll come back. We'll do TBTL at the normal time. And little did I know that while I was down there, or actually on my way down there, heading south on Interstate 5, heading north on Interstate 5 was a tractor trailer. There was a big rig that was going to tip over on its side and almost as if like a child were playing with his toys, place itself perfectly blocking literally every single lane of northbound I-5 and closing down the entire freeway. I did not realize this was happening until I was heading north back to come here to do the show with you. And where this truck was positioned, where it was blocking the road, was the literal worst place it could have been because of having to do with something called the Lewis River. Lewis! And other things. There were literally no viable detours. I got off the freeway because the freeway was just a literal parking lot, but all of the side streets were literal parking lots. And I kept rerouting and kept taking these different, more obscure, tiny back roads, hoping I was going to find a wormhole of some kind. And it didn't work out. I ended up, I said at the beginning of the show it was Ridgefield, Washington. I think it might have been more what's technically called La Center.
That's where you think you threw away your wallet at a gas station.
Good memory.
Yeah.
Very good memory.
It's a very interesting name. I wouldn't have come up with the name, but when I hear La Center, it sounds like a made-up name, right? It sounds like somebody who's never spoken Spanish in their life, but they're pretending like they speak Spanish, and they're trying to tell you to get to the middle of something. They're telling you to go to La Center.
Yeah, you're going to want to go down to La Center. Yes, exactly. Good memory. I think it was I threw away my driver's license accidentally. I think it was sticking. My theory is my driver's license was stuck to a hotel key card. And when I threw the hotel key card out, getting gas in La Center, Washington, my theory is that my driver's license was stuck to the back of it. Anyway, I ended up in this predicament, which was I kept getting on these increasingly smaller little back roads. And then eventually I was on this one that was in a very kind of wooded area. And we're just parked. I mean, it's the kind of thing where people are just getting out of their cars and kind of wandering around. This kid in front of me, I think, ran out of gas or something broke with his car. He had his hood up. And I wanted to be more helpful, but I was like, I got to save myself here.
Were people driving around him, or was he at least on the side of the road? Did he get to the curb?
No, he was in the lane of traffic. And the reason that I saw the full extent of it was because eventually, Andrew, I'm kind of jumping to the end of the story, I eventually pulled that move where I just bailed on the traffic and turned around and drove the other way because it was so constricted. But I was in this little kind of wooded area that had these, actually it was quite beautiful. I was trying to work through a bunch of things. I turned off the radio and my phone and I was just staring at the nature, and I was trying to just kind of embrace the boredom of it. I was trying to pretend like I was outside on a nature walk. I went through a million different things to try to deal with the insanity of this 3 to 4 hours or whatever that I was just stuck trying to get back home. But the thing about this little area that I was in was there was no internet. I couldn't get a cell service on my phone for parts of it. And so I'm looking at Waze, and Waze is telling me that it's going to be 50 minutes, but it's not changing, and I'm not moving, and I don't even know if I'm getting old Waze information. I don't know if it's talking to the cell towers, or if it's just showing me what it knew 5 minutes, or I should say 20 minutes ago before I got into this pickle, which was basically parked on this road, surrounded by other cars that are parked, too afraid to turn around and leave because I thought, I've already invested now hours getting to this point. If I turn around and just drive back to I-5, that's just going to be a parking lot as well. I didn't really know what to do. And then amazingly, as we inched forward ever so slowly, I got a little moment of cell service, and I checked the internet, and I went to mynorthwest.com. Not intentionally. I guess they have pretty good SEO. I was just trying to find out what was going on with this crash.
Would you say that you were in a choke point situation?
It was the chokiest of choke points. And I did think of Chris Sullivan when I was there. I literally did. Because I was trying to figure out, why are we not moving at all? There has to be some car at the front of this who's just not driving. They're afraid. What's going on? Why are we stopped here in this wooded glen with no cell service? But I got just enough cell service to jump back on the internet, and I searched I-5 truck crash, and mynorthwest.com popped up, and it said, as of 10:19 a.m., which at this point it was already 10:50. No, it was 10:50 or something. It was coming up on 11. It said, as of 10:19 a.m., Washington State Department of Transportation announces all lanes are reopened. And so I was like, well, then why is this so bad where I am? I-5 is reopened, and I had to make a very, very, high stakes decision, which is, am I gonna get out of this traffic and retrace my steps all the way back to Interstate 5 on the hope that mynorthwest.com is accurately reporting this information? Because if I get all the way back there and it's still like it was before, then I've made things even worse, and we may not even get to record the show today. But I did. I decided to trust mynorthwest.com. I decided to trust the idea that I-5 was actually going to be better now than it was, that it was reopened. So I did that thing where I just inched out and did like a 33-point turn, saw the kid in the Subaru who now had his hood up. When I went around him, he was just kind of like standing looking at his car. But now that I'm going back past him, he's got the hood up.
How much did that add to the backup, or was there no traffic really going the opposite way, so everybody was just swerving around him?
Yes, they were just swerving around him. Like nobody was moving in that direction. And then something magical happened, Andrew. As I started driving back towards I-5, the ETA, the time that I was going to be spending in the car, started magically dropping. And started going from 57 minutes to 45 minutes to 35 minutes to eventually it was like I'm 20 miles from my house and it's 20 minutes. And I realized all of those people, those poor, unfortunate souls that were in that crazy side street backup that I was in, were going to be there potentially for hours more because, and the thing is, I did not do a legal move to get out of that traffic. So Waze doesn't, Waze is very rule following. It's not going to tell you, oh, you could actually just do an illegal U-turn here and drive the other way. So it's thinking the next place that I can even turn is down at some stoplight somewhere in, like, I don't even know what that town is called, but this other town where we were all on our way to, which at one time might have been a better option, but now that I-5 was reopened, that was the way to go. And as I'm getting towards I-5, I'm noticing there's not any backups. There aren't big long lines to get on the freeway. And I get on the freeway again at La Center, and it's just wide open. And I am bombing down the highway, and what I can see to my right is the line of traffic that I was in. And it is so long still, and I can trace it. It goes all the way down into this town. I think the town's called Woodland, where there's one stoplight. And the problem is all of this extra traffic that has been pushed on the side street, it's all trying to go through this one little small town stoplight that's not used to that kind of action. And now it really, really, really sucked being in this traffic this morning and pushing back our show record time and all that stuff. But the insane satisfaction I got bombing down I-5, looking at those cars, and there were semi-trucks, I could see them just backed up indefinitely. And like, I don't wish any ill on those people, but the fact that I made the call and it was the right call and that I got out of it and got on I-5 and saw, it was like it was a real sliding doors jingle all the way kind of a situation. I could see all the people that were in the line that I had been in, and I was not in that line anymore. And that was actually kind of satisfying.
Are you familiar with the Last Frontier Poker Room?
The Last Frontier in La Center, Washington. I've probably been there.
Yeah,
I've probably played some poker there.
I'm looking at La Center right now. I'm trying to figure out, because what I was going to say to you is, you need to avoid La Center. I don't know if we have any listeners there or not. And if we do, I'm sure it's working out for you well.
I've had some La problems.
Yeah, but you've had some La problems in La Center. And so first of all, I would avoid that. I have some other questions for you really quickly.
Yes.
This is the least interesting one, but then I'm going to get to the more interesting one, but just for my own edification. So you said you were down in the Portland area. I'm going to assume maybe on the northern end because you're north of Portland, so maybe you weren't going all the way through Portland. But generally speaking, how long of a trip is it for you to get to Portland or this area that you were at?
I was at Ron Tonkin Mazda, which is actually, I don't know if it's, I guess it's technically Portland, but you want to take it to real boring town. I am able to get from my house to Portland International Airport and also like this area that this Ron Tonkin thing is kind of near the airport.
Okay.
Because I don't have to actually go through Portland. I get to kind of like skirt it.
Okay.
So I'm driving south on I-5, then I get on something called 205. And in not having to go all the way into Portland, it means that I could get to on a good day, I could get to the airport in 35 minutes from my house, which is essentially the same as this.
So it should be about a 35-minute ride is what we're getting at
35,
here.
40-minute ride.
And then I texted you at, 8 a.m.? I think I texted you damn near 8 a.m.
Of all of the days.
Yeah, no, it was fine. I have some other stuff going on here at our place with old Lucy. She's okay, but she think she contracted a UTI at some point last night, and so it made our evening very interesting. At first, we were very, very concerned that she had some sort of a more serious condition or something, but we're pretty convinced that what she has is a UTI, which might be,
you like to get wet though.
Yeah, kind of. Which is, I think, treatable. We haven't actually. We're trying to get her to the vet now as we speak, because Vives and I both have busy days, and it was just kind of a crazy situation. So I had texted you to say, hey, no pressure, but if you're just sitting around waiting for me anyway, we could just dial up a couple of hours early or something and get the show on the road today. And that's when you told me, oh no, I can't. I'm stuck in this just amazing traffic. I don't think amazing was your word, but we didn't even quite realize just how bad that traffic was going to be. But all of that is to say, so 8 a.m., you're telling me, I'm stuck in traffic. You probably were not just hitting the road at 8 a.m. I'm trying to figure out exactly how long it took you to get back home in what should have been a 35-minute drive. It must have been, well, if you started from my text message at 8 o'clock, that's 3.5 hours, but you were already on the road probably when I texted you, right?
8:12 a.m. I might have been, I guess I was. I was already getting into the traffic because the accident turns out was at 7:40 a.m.
So okay.
So basically it added,
probably
and
like
I got
4 hours.
I was probably like 4 hours. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm telling you. It was total insanity. I've never experienced something like this where there's no alternative, or where where it's like there's people had just pulled over on the side of the road and just had turned their cars off. It was that kind of a thing. It was like
Michael Stipe was singing "Everybody Hurts." People were walking on the hoods of their cars.
People were wandering around on the freeway, dazed and confused.
What is the Italian movie that is a parody of? This has come up on the show before, and I described it as a French movie. And then when we finally figured it out, we realized it's very much not a French movie. You have any idea what I'm talking about?
No.
The video I'm talking about from REM, right? The black and white "Everybody Hurts." Michael Stipe is walking on the hoods of cars. Everybody's just like stuck in traffic. You see bored children in the back seat, and it's kind of and then as the song sort of swells, that's when people start getting out of their cars and walking on their cars, and but it's all based on a movie that I would watch years and years later, and I never knew, and then it was this Italian movie, and that's how that movie sort of begins, with like a bunch of like kind of portraits of people waiting in stopped cars. I'm
trying to find
Googling. Yeah,
I'm Googling it, although I put "Everybody Hurts" video parody, which leads us to Wayne's World doing a parody of REM's "Everybody Hurts."
Yeah.
And then
why don't you do this?
An REM parody called "Everybody Poops." Someone has put on YouTube.
Sounds about up our alley. Let's see here. Well, why don't you watch the video? You could just kind of watch the video there and to get a sense of what I'm talking about. So the next time, because this is a go-to for me quite a bit. Let's see here. "Everybody Hurts." It was directed by Jake Scott. Let's see here. The band is stuck in a traffic jam. It shows people in other cars with subtitles of their thoughts appearing on the screen. That's right. That's what the whole thing is.
That's the movie thing.
Yes, and that's very much like it. And why am I not? Fellini's 8.5. It's how Fellini's 8.5 opens. A heavy traffic jam, and kind of it's a dream sequence. So anyway, famous French director Fellini.
One of my top directors that I lie about having seen their work.
That's all I've seen, and if I recall, I was kind of disappointed in it because it was about sometimes there are beautiful movies sometimes, but really at the heart of them, it's just about whether or not a man will have more sex, and it just is that it's just like one of those things. Like I am way too invested. I don't know if there's mistresses involved or whatever, but I'm just kind of like, I really don't care about your boner, as Genevieve will sometimes yell at the TV, and sometimes at me. Okay, so here was, I told you I had
Stop bragging.
I said I had the
someone's got some Blue Chew Gold.
Blue Chew Yellow. No, I said I had a boring question, which is I wanted to get a sense of how long you're in the car versus how long it should have taken. 35 minutes is average. You took 4 hours. Okay, here is the more interesting question, I think, speaking of gold and yellow. You are a man who is about to turn 50 years old. In fact, I believe that's maybe a few weeks away. No?
Yeah, it's on the horizon.
Yeah, it's on the horizon. You're a man of about 50 years old. You're a man who enjoys coffee. I believe you drink a lot of coffee in the morning. I don't know what else you're drinking, probably a lot of water. At any time during this 4-hour trip, did it occur to you, I might be in a situation here vis-a-vis having to go to the bathroom?
I peed right before I left Ron Tonkin. So
4 hours?
You know,
Morning coffee.
I think I can,
Good on you.
I can hold it for 4 hours
Sir?
still. My
Sir?
prostate is.
I'm saluting you in my mind.
This is I can drink coffee before I go to bed, and I can hold my bladder
Look
for
at
4
you.
hours. Although now that you mention it, I do sort of have to.
Now you have to go.
Because I ran right in here and turned on the computer to dial up with you.
Well, we can take a break when we get to the dazzling donors, but well, that's very impressive because
And
I
that would have been.
I would have been. What would have happened is I would have started thinking about it. That's what happens to me these days. I'm kind of like, no, I'm fine. Right? Oh, wait, maybe I'm not fine. And then I start telling myself, oh, shoot, you do have to go. And sometimes it's not even based on reality that much, but I'm just in my head about it so much, especially in those situations where I feel like a door has closed, you know?
Yeah, like on the airplane kind of a thing. Although you're an aisle guy. So
I am. That's why, though. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm a window person, but now there's these two things that are competing in my life, which is my love of being on the window with my my prostate enlarging by the year. And so I know I may have to become an aisle guy at some point because I do make frequent trips. But yeah, that whole thing of being on the window and like when they say, okay, we're about to begin our initial descent. Mm-hmm. And particularly if you're flying into somewhere like JFK or one of these airports that even after you land, you might still just be sort of taxiing around for a long time, but they're very anti you getting up then. I get legitimately stressed out now if I haven't peed right at the last allowable moment because I'm like, this might be another hour or two, of descending, landing, taxiing around, whatever's going on. And like that stresses me out, the idea of needing to pee and not getting hollered at to try to go use the restroom.
Yeah, and this is the thing about me on airplanes. They make that announcement sometimes. I'm like, oh damn, I should have gone to the bathroom. I'll be fine. I should use the restroom though. But they've made the announcement that we have to stay in our seats for the rest of the flight. It's only going to be supposedly a half hour or something like that. And then you just see some, 25-year-old young woman in sweatpants and headphones, and she just gets up and uses the restroom, and there's literally no repercussions at all. And I just think, like, I'm just like, you're so brave. Yeah. You're so brave. I'm just like, you look like you don't have a care in the world. Like you're you didn't, like, maybe you didn't hear it or you heard it and it just didn't sound like anything to you. Meanwhile, I'm like, I don't know. Can I stay in my seat for the next 30 minutes? I hope we don't have any accidents. Just for the record, I'm not a guy who's having a lot of accidents, but like, I just see people just as casually can be. Yeah. Just be like, okay, I heard the announcement, but that doesn't apply to me. How are people navigating the world in this way? Aren't they scared they're going to get hollered at?
The one that I get very nervous about is when I'm in coach, but I'm kind of close to the sort of borderline of first class, and I'm always amazed at people that have the confidence to go use the first class bathroom from coach.
Oh my
By
Christ,
the way,
I can't even imagine.
And for the record, I couldn't possibly care less about that. Like if I do happen to be in first class because I got upgraded for free or whatever, I think that bathroom should be for everybody to use. I think it's silly for that to be, only for the use of the people at the front of the plane. But when I'm in coach, I am far too frightened to try to, to try to like run up there and use that bathroom because I'm worried I'll get hollered at. But then I see people that are just like, oh yeah, I see people coming from coach and using the first class bathroom all the time, which again is just a level of confidence, self-confidence that I'll just never have.
Yeah, me too. And you're not even like, I'm the rule follower amongst us, right? Like, so it makes sense that I would be scared to move out of my seat, but like you're seeing these scofflaws just coming on up using the rich people's bathroom. And again, like what is the worst that happens in this scenario? Somebody says, that's not for you. Right? That's literally the worst thing that can happen, unless you like get belligerent on them or something. But really, probably a nice, maybe a worst case scenario, a slightly stern flight attendant will tell you, can't use that restroom, use one in the back. But to me, that is capital punishment. Like, I can't handle that.
I did have on a recent flight, I had been upgraded to first class. And the flight attendant was a very severe American woman or German woman, and it was interesting just to see culturally how that played out because even with like those of us that were flying up at the front of the plane, she was very professional, but not kind of like overly sort of like I don't know, just like overly falling all over herself to to welcome us to the flight. Oh my gosh, thank you for being gold 75K and all this stuff. She was pretty straightforward. And then let me tell you, when people tried to come up to use that first class bathroom, she was absolutely not having it, and she did not sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
She was all about business.
So, So were the people who were trying to use that bathroom. I'm looking at the Last Frontier Poker Room there in the center. By the way, newly remodeled. You can click here to learn more, which I did, and I'm learning more about them now with 2 newly remodeled buildings devoted to your favorite poker and table games. Last Frontier and New Phoenix Casino set the standard for what a card room should be. Now, this raises a question for me. This is something I have not really, I don't spend time in as many card rooms and casinos as you have, or as I should. But I'm trying. But me, I could go get my salt and pepper wings over at Goldie Shoreline Casino every now and then. So I've been in them, usually in your shadow. But anyway, I'm just noticing something for the first time that you probably have. There's probably a pretty obvious explanation for this, but I'm looking at the rugs. I'm looking at the carpeting, I should say, in this casino card room. And, they're what you describe is just absolutely hideous. Just like a mesh of colors. It looks like kind of black, red, and white slashes all over the place. It's absolutely brutal, but also somehow befitting this kind of establishment, right? And is that because it hides dirt and sadness?
Yes,
okay.
And poor decision making. Poor decision making blends right into this rug.
It's a good decision to get this rug because it hides poor decision making. How could carpeting be so ugly? I'm clicking around. They have different colors. They have different colorways for different rooms, and one is worse than the last.
That's just absolutely brutal. You're right. I'm looking at that carpet now. And this is. I'm not proud of this, not proud of it, but man enough to admit it, Andrew, that one of my early forays to Las Vegas, it might have been my second or third time there, I went with Camaro Kev and our buddy, the veteran, rest in peace, Russell Kurth, and a bunch of guys, and we stayed at the Excalibur, which was the cheapest hotel we could find, and it had carpet very much like this. And I wondered, I was like, boy, this carpet is as ugly as sin, and then I managed to make myself sick through alcohol consumption and unfortunately did vomit in the hallway. And because I was so out of it, I think I just stumbled into the room and maybe went to sleep, possibly in the bathtub. It was that kind of a deal. There was like 8 guys on this trip and 2 queen beds. We were sleeping in shifts. It was like a fishing boat. Anyway, I remember coming out the next morning, and weirdly to my horror, it was all gone and had been cleaned up. And why that horrified me was because somebody had to deal with my idiocy, and I felt really bad about that. But I can tell you, it was imperceptible on that rug.
Yeah,
I kind of knew where it had happened, but if you hadn't been the person who did the throwing up, you would have never known. And it was a carpet pattern very similar to the one at the Last Frontier Poker Room. Now, here's the thing that I find interesting about these casinos in La Center, Washington. They used to be, there must have been some sort of quirk in the law, like maybe it was the town of La Center just had lax rules around gambling, but that was where all of the poker rooms and card rooms and things were for many years. And then right down the street, they built this giant, gleaming, fancy casino that is Eileen. It looks like Ilani, but it is pronounced Eileen. Okay. Don't ask me how I know that. It's just something I know. And I when they built that Eileen thing, I think before I had moved down to Portland, but I was aware of the scene down here because I play poker and stuff in Portland from time to time, and I thought there is no way that these dingy card rooms with their horrendous carpet are going to be able to compete with this giant, beautiful, gleaming casino / hotel. But they have somehow hung on, and in fact, I passed all of them twice this morning. Once when I was getting off I-5 and trying to take my secret back route, and then when I retraced my steps with my tail between my legs. So I went through downtown La Center and all of its little card rooms and poker rooms, not once but twice this morning.
So I'm going to change the subject here because I know it's something that you want to talk about and I want to talk about together. I assume we haven't discussed this, but I just assume we're on the same page here. Did you want to talk about the Spotify playlist that Diana Rossini allegedly made for Mike Vrabel after the Tennessee Titans lost their 4th game in a row in 2022, and she made a. Okay, let me back up here. Let me back up. Okay, I want to talk to you about this.
Should we thank the dazzling donors first?
No, we're going to do this now. Okay. We're going to do it quickly, and then
I want to hear this.
I am all ears.
Donors. This is the content that I turn to this show for.
There is. I learned this today. I didn't know about this, but there is somebody on the social media platform Blue Sky who goes by the name David at FOIA Ball. And it says, FOIA Ball digs through public records to break college football's weirdest, wildest, and biggest secrets. That's right, FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. And so David at FOIA Ball tweeted this out that I saw because somebody kind of like re-shared it or whatever. Diana Rossini made a Spotify playlist called...
Do we need to give people any context for this?
I'll give the one sentence. Can I do it in one sentence? Diana Rossini is a longtime NFL reporter and what they call insider, whose latest gig was at the top of the media mountain for that kind of role, reporting for The Athletic and The New York Times. What we found out recently was that she has been having what appears to be, she has not admitted it, nor has Mike Vrabel, but it would appear that she and former Tennessee Titans coach, current Patriots coach Mike Vrabel,
and one-time
Walsh Jesuit high school football player, and I would have been at Walsh Jesuit. I would have been a freshman when he was a senior, I believe, although I did not know it at the time. Truly, again, as somebody pointed out on the Fun-Loving Criminals, misunderstanding the idea behind a man for others. He was, I can be a man for others.
People's wives.
He's married, but he can also be a man for others, is not the takeaway that the Jesuits intended. All of that is to say, I think probably most people, even Genevieve was familiar with this story, so I don't think this is, because it's scandalous, I don't think it is relegated to the sports world. But it's also a story about, journalistic ethics or whatever, because here you have this very well-regarded, and somebody who I've been a fan of, by the way, Diana Rossini, a very well-regarded reporter who, it would appear, has been having an ongoing affair with Coach Mike Vrabel for like at least 6 years now or something, because more and more photos are coming out after they were caught recently on camera looking like they were having a rendezvous at some like kind of fancy resort in Arizona. Now more photos are coming out of them like kind of canoodling at a bar back in 2020, I want to say, when she would have been engaged and he would have been married. And so it looks like this is an ongoing relationship. I didn't keep the background to one sentence. Sorry about that.
She did name, by the way, she named her son Michael.
Michael, yes.
Mike, which is people have noted is kind of interesting because it appears that whatever was going on with the two of them was preceding the birth of her child.
Yeah, interesting. And I mean, other people have also said like she's, an Italian-American family. It's going to be Michael or Tony. Like, also, like, that's fair enough or whatever. And, how much do you want to read into this? I will say that while I don't want to be, I really do have a soft spot for her because she was a commentator, like a guest on the Le Batard show a lot, and just like great personality, super funny, but also heartbreaking because so much of her humor comes from like kind of talking about her home life with her husband and kind of busting chops and everything. And of course, me and Mike Vrabel, we have a bond because I taught him everything he knows about football when we were colleagues in high school.
Colleagues
in high school. So anyway, I don't know how much fun to have with the whole thing. It can be sort of heartbreaking, but also, come on, let's just lighten up a little bit. So these folks, or at least this person, David at Foyaball, says Diana Rossini made a Spotify playlist called Turnin' the Page that she shared with a user named Mike on December 19th, 2022, which just so happens to coincide with a 4-game Titans losing streak.
When he would have been the head coach of the Titans.
When he would have been the head coach of the Titans. As I said when I reposted this, I said, I'm not trying to defend anybody here, but can you name one person who didn't create a special Spotify playlist when the Titans fell to 7-7 in 2022? But anyway, we don't know for sure that the Mike who Diana Rossini made this playlist for is Mike Vrabel, but let's go with it. The assumption is like, okay, his team is on a losing streak. She's an NFL reporter and insider, but she's also having this ongoing dalliance with him, and he's now lost another game. The team is in if not a fall, certainly a skid. And so the idea is she has made a playlist called Turnin' the Page for her lover boy. And I want to go, if you haven't already Googled, I'd like to go over with you, Luke, what is in this playlist, because of everything that is sad and tragic about learning of this relationship and all of the families that have been broken up and the sadness, nothing is sadder than this playlist, which is just the worst. I mean, it's described as like the first half is just a bunch of songs by anybody who has very basic taste in pop culture in 2022. And the back half is just for middle-aged men who grew up in the late 80s and early 90s, as me and my my former colleague, Mike Vrabel did. It begins with Cuff It by Beyonce from the Renaissance record. Okay. Then Big Energy by Lotto, L-A-T-T-O.
I do actually like that song.
Okay, that's good.
That song actually kind of slaps.
We're going back to the same Beyonce record for Break My Soul. I mean, I think it's actually devilishly creative sometimes to include on a mixtape 2 songs off the same album, but you're not doing that with the 1 and 3 slots. That's ridiculous, especially for such a, again, I like Beyonce, who doesn't? But it's just, it's not like super interesting or creative to do this. House Party by Sam Hunt. I'm unfamiliar. My Love by Route 94. Pump It Louder by Tiesto and the Black Eyed Peas, Luke.
Wow.
Raise Your Glass by Pink.
Move over. This Is How Legends Are Made.
This is how legends are made. Oh, wait, I had a joke I wanted to make about that when you were telling me about that song. Do you remember the name of the band that does This Is How Legends Are Made? Or was it
a guy's name. It's like a dude's name.
When you were telling me about that on the show the other day, I wanted to say to you, wouldn't it be amazing if that dude, when he goes on tour, because didn't you say that he is he the one who's doing
His
a bunch
name
of
is Sam Tenez?
Is he doing a bunch of Savannah Banana shows too?
Yes.
Or am I conflating my stories? Wouldn't it be amazing to go see Sam Tenez and he doesn't do that song?
Right?
Would that just be the most amazing
The amount of respect that I would actually have for him, that flex, that would...
I'm so glad you brought it back up. I've been thinking about that for a week. I'm like, damn it, I wanted to bring that up with you. Okay, so anyway, then we have a song by Pink called Raise Your Glass, and then Bass Down Low by Dev, don't know it. Can't Stop by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Last Resort by Papa Roach.
Hoopla or whatever they say.
Is that is that in
Can't
the song?
Stop Addicted to the dun dun.
Oh, that's the Red Hot. Yeah,
it's my Anthony Kiedis impression.
Pretty good. Then just suddenly, Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses.
Whoa.
Photograph by Def Leppard.
Right.
God of Thunder by Kiss.
Oof. Dance
the Night Away by Van Halen. Then Renegade by Styx. Now, keep in mind, though, David at Foyaball is nothing if not dogged about this. Follows up to his own post to write, a year later, the playlist was perfected with the addition of one single song.
What?
Life is a Highway by Rascal Flatts. The
Not even, by the way.
Sits dormant for a year. And then they had Life is a Highway by Rascal Flatts.
The fact that, sorry, I wanted to double check something before I was loud wrong. The fact that...
Is that the original or a cover? Is that what you're checking?
It's a cover.
Okay, that's what I would
believe
guess,
it's like a Tom Cochran.
Was that the original, the one that we grew up with?
The one we grew up with, and then Rascal Flatts re-recorded the song for the Disney Pixar movie Cars. So she's not even putting the original Life is a Highway song. She's putting the Rascal Flatts version.
Oh God, that's so
from
good.
the Cars soundtrack.
That's so good, Mike. I'm going back. I wanted to freshen up the playlist a little bit, and so I added the Disney cover version by Rascal Flatts of Life is a Highway.
Yeah,
so, that is superb.
Just one more thing.
Just fully Columboing the playlist. That's wild. Now, what's interesting about Foyaball is I don't think you had to file a FOIA for this. I think this is just good old-fashioned. This is just good oldfashioned shoe leather journalism, right?
In fact,
it's like,
I'm following right now. That earns a follow.
Probably, I'm guessing that Diana Rossini's somehow her Spotify playlists are public, or
they were. I think that she's changed it since this went viral today.
Yeah.
Like literally, I think I saw somebody. I couldn't click on it because I think it was on Twitter and not Blue Sky, and I didn't get access. But I think she's now changed the name of it or something as a way of sort of how do you say it, obfuscating, but but anyway, but in that people were just kind of like, oh, and she just like changed it to her son's names or something like that. It's kind of sad.
You know, that's the kind of thing that would make it hard for me to have an affair with someone. Is I'm not even, it sounds like I'm joking, and I am sort of joking, but not like if, and let's take the affair aspect out of it, just let's call it a relationship. If somebody made me a mixtape or a Spotify playlist and it had those songs on it, I would have a really hard time seeing a future with that person.
Yeah.
Because it'd be like, well, I don't know. I mean, you know, I've told the story before. I once broke up with someone long ago because they were blowing their nose and throwing the tissues against the side of the bed, that every time the bed would move away from the wall, the tissues would fall down between the bed and the wall. And I would think, no one's ever cleaning up those tissues. Like, I can't have a life with this person. And also, she had some sandals that I didn't really particularly love.
Wait a second.
Like,
I thought you were gonna. Wasn't there some? Or was this just a bit you had, or that you joked around about, or was this a real thing? Wasn't there something with a woman that you were dating, like again, forever ago, where you didn't like the song that automatically played on her MySpace page when you logged in?
No, that was different. That was, and my ex-wife, my first ex-wife, when we were sort of estranged, she changed her MySpace song, and it was like it was a Spoon song, and I felt like it was a direct commentary on me
because of the lyrics and the content
because
of the song.
Lyrics.
Oh, okay.
And also
totally
because
misremembered that. Okay.
And also, no, but there was a different person that I did not pursue a serious relationship with because she had a paper towel holder that was like a little too country kitchen for me in her apartment. That was like, it was like a goose. Like it was a paper towel holder that was a goose, and I just saw it and I thought, this can't be my life.
Yeah.
I can't see myself in 20 years like sharing a life with the person who this is the kind of paper towel holder they want.
Yeah.
Now, I understand this makes me incredibly petty and shallow, but there are things like that for me, it's really not about the music. It's about the like, well, can I share a life with someone who prefers the Rascal Flatts version of Life is a Highway? You know?
Well, I got to be honest with you, as a disliker of as a longtime disliker of the original. What's the name again?
I'm saying Tom Cochrane.
Yeah, Tom Cochrane. I think you nailed it. I'm going with that. I don't know. Do I like the Rascal Flatts version worse? I don't know.
This is my Tom Cochrane story that I've told, I think, many times on the show, so I'll try to keep it kind of short. But when we were filming that beer commercial, those 20-plus years ago, we were filming up in Canada, and we were up in some rural part of, like, Alberta. And we went to this hole-in-the-wall bar, like a roadside bar, kind of classically right out of a movie or something. And because they wanted us in the commercial was we were on a road trip in Canada, and we're having all these experiences, including drinking Molson. So we go into this bar, which is just like, it's so obscure and off the beaten path. And there's these two drunk guys sitting there drunk at 11 in the morning or whatever. And we roll in, and they bring in all these big lights and stuff. And they let one of the guys be in the commercial. He's sort of playing the bartender because he looked like the guy who'd be a bartender there. And I remember at the end of this whole thing, I thought they'd be quite impressed with us. And they said, I like being in the Life is a Highway video more. Because it was also where they had shot Tom Cochrane's Life is a Highway video had been shot there, as had scenes from the movie Shanghai Noon with Owen Wilson and Jackie Chan. Turns out this is the most filmed bar in Canada.
Oh my God.
These guys were probably both had their SAG cards.
I love that,
point.
but especially the specificity of I like being in Tom Cochrane's video more.
They shot Life is a Highway there, and I think this guy found that production to be more enjoyable.
Wonderful.
We was hoping for some razzle-dazzle.
Razzle-dazzle.
That's right, man. Razzle-dazzle.
On your mark.
On your mark.
Get set.
Get set.
Now ready.
Ready. Go.
Everybody razzle-dazzle.
All right, let's take a moment to thank some of our dazzling donors. These fine folks are donating a dazzling amount of dough to the show, and that's how this whole thing continues all these years later. This is a 100% listener-supported podcast, and we don't have any advertisers. We don't have any dark money. We don't have any light money. We just have... Actually, I guess you would call this light money because we know where it is. We're very transparent about it.
Yeah.
It comes down to folks like Danielle Walsh in Seattle, Washington, who is donating to the show. Danielle says, for my dazzling donor message this year, I'd like to give a shout-out to one of our fellow Tens, Andrea Carter, proprietor of A. Carter Travels.
Oh, yeah.
We actually read I'm going with Andrea for some reason, even though maybe it was Andrea. Did we?
Let me see
It
if
was
there's a
while ago.
pronouncer on that, if I can find it, yeah.
But we actually read Andrea's dazzling donor message not that long ago, talking about this very same business. Danielle says, I connected with Andrea through the TBTL community, and I am so thankful I found her.
Oh, nice.
I'd always thought travel agents were for fancy people with hot air balloons. Well played. Well played. Let's see, but not regular people like me. But I took a chance, and I worked with Andrea to plan our family trip to Japan last summer.
Oh, wow.
Andrea was amazing to work with. She took all the stress out of planning. She was so organized and on top of every detail. She checked in on us during the trip and even sprang into action from halfway around the world at some ungodly hour to fix a snafu with one of our activities. Wow.
See, that
is a compelling pitch.
Yes, it really is for the industry as a whole, and especially for Andrea's business.
She says, and the best part is that she is a 10. Thank you, Andrea. And I'd be remiss to not thank all three of the business boys. What you do is so important. You can find Andrea at acartertravels.com. So there you go, a hearty endorsement for our friend Andrea from a fellow 10 who's used the services and very much enjoyed them.
That's so cool. Is there anything more TBTL 10-ish than that?
No. There isn't.
Like
the
shouting
idea of
out,
love it. And I love the idea too of Andrea waking up in the middle of the night to fix something in Japan for Danielle, just because the 10s, whether or not there's a business relationship, are always taking care of each other.
That's right.
So this is really awesome. Thanks, Danielle. We really appreciate you, and could not do this without you, Maestro.
On your mark.
On your mark.
Get set.
Get set.
Now ready.
Ready. Go.
Everybody razzle dazzle.
We also got to thank Aaron Hicks. Aaron rhymes with bear in, and Hicks rhymes with kicks.
Now, I want to make sure that it's clear. Not barren like a barren desert, but a bear inside of something.
Yes, and not barren like the troublingly tall son of the president.
Oh, sure, yes. Not
this
like
is
that.
bear in. Aaron Hicks, as in Baron Kicks. In Renton, Washington, Aaron says, I've been an avid listener of TBTL since the radio days. It's now my afternoon pickup to get through the workday. 2026 has a lot of big things happening. Celebrating 50 years. Hey, Aaron, I know what that's like. The Seahawks won well, I will know what it's like soon. The Seahawks won the Super Bowl in their 50th season. The Mariners will break the curse and not only make their first World Series appearance, but also win in their 50th season. Luke and Andrew celebrate their 50th birthday, and I do as well. I'm not sure I have completely accepted that age. I enjoy the banter every day and relate to Luke's stories about growing up in the PNW or listening to Andrew promote getting to the airport 2 hours ahead of time.
Hell yeah.
Looking forward to another year of listening to the tangents that naturally come about and hopefully a top story or two. That's about the number of top stories that we get to per year. Aaron is about 2 of them. So
I have a question for you, and this is embarrassing. Sure. This is embarrassing, but it's a question that I have when I listen to the radio a lot and I hear the Mariners promos for their 25th season. And this is where 50th season. I'm already off to a whiz-bang start on this conversation. But the Mariners.
Yes.
Season 1 was 1977. The year is 2026 today. Wouldn't next year be why is next year not the 50th anniversary season?
I'm so bad with this stuff.
I'm so confused.
I'm not trying to be unhelpful, but I guess I just trust them on this. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that my brain starts to melt down when I try to think about this kind of stuff.
70, there's just no... So, if you just go through it, then, 77, you would think that 87 would be 10 years, right? It seems like it should be the easiest math because...
Yeah.
We know how 10s work. I don't know how a lot of things work, but this job has given me insight on one very specific number, which is 10 and 10s. And
I'm going to do
I feel like
really...
right, because we can just go by ones if we need to really break it down. 1978 would be year 1, and then you just keep going, and then so 87 would be year 10, right?
Here's what I'm going to fall back on, as I so often do with other things. I feel like a lot of pretty smart people put a lot of thought into this and decided it was going to be this year. And my guess is that they know what they're talking about. But
Numbers
this is like me
or
trusting...
about marketing or about numbers? They know what they're talking about Are they striking now because the team is so hot?
I see. So you don't think?
I don't know. I'm just. Hey, man, I'm just asking questions. No, for real. I don't have a theory, but like the numbers don't work, right? Am I insane?
Well,
Am I this
I
dumb?
mean, you whether or not you're trying to launch a theory here, you are, and it actually, I find it somewhat convincing, which is you're not saying that they don't actually understand how tens and decades work. You're saying that they chose to kind of fudge the numbers because there was some competitive advantage or some reason why they wanted to make basically call this the 50th year, even though
because
we're still
we
1
were
year
so
away.
hot last year. Although that the planning for something like this would have started a long time ago, before the Mariners started making a postseason run. You know what I mean? Last year, like planning a 50th celebration like this for an organization of this size and reputation and ties to the city and everything. They didn't just start planning this in September. Like, oh, we're good now. Let's celebrate 50 next year. So that would make me sound crazy if I were suggesting that. But I don't understand why they're calling it Celebrating 50 Seasons of Mariners Baseball. Yeah, I guess I just don't know how math works. That must.
But
be.
are we 100% certain that they started in 77? That's a known fact.
I thought so.
Because that could explain it too.
Well,
if they
good
started
Lord,
in
if that's
76.
the whole thing. I didn't even. But I was born in 76, and well, let's see.
I feel like I would have remembered that too. I would have associated with my year of birth. 77 sounds more plausible.
Inaugural 1977 season. That's what it says on their 50th. Mariners announced 50 season celebration in 2026. So I keep on thinking like, well, then 77 was season 1. I keep on trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong here. And this is one of those things where if I really am just this dumb, it's not even math. I'm giving myself way too much cover by calling it math. It's just simply counting. If I'm this bad at counting and the listeners, they're probably going crazy right now. So maybe I should just end it and we should just go back to what we're here for, which is, thanking our wonderful, dazzling donors.
Well, we can never thank them too much. So let's say that again. Thank you very much for supporting TBTL. We would not be here without you.
Hello and welcome to Top Story.
This is not much of a top story, Andrew, but it is something that jumped out at me the other day. I was looking at old TikTok, as I am wont to do, and somebody was filming a live taping of the Smartless podcast. They were filming it on their phone.
Mm-hmm.
And what they were excited about was the fact that there was a special surprise guest on this live episode of Smartless, and the special surprise guest was actually Jonah Hill, the actor and director. But what jumped out at me was Jason Bateman sitting on stage in front of what I assume is a packed theater of people, trying to find his intro for Jonah Hill on his iPhone and not being able to find it. The audio is maybe a slight bit confusing here because, again, this is just someone on their iPhone taping Jason Bateman from the audience, and Will Arnett is also kind of chiming in. But it's basically Jason Bateman trying to figure out how to get to the email that he has the Jonah Hill intro on his phone on.
Four sides of the podcast since we started this stupid thing.
So it starts with, that's Will Arnett, and Jason Bateman is just looking perplexedly at his...
Holy shit. No, yeah, there are the questions. Wait, there they were. Oh. How did I just touch it and it went away? It was a PDF. And then this guy...
So now he's just winging his intro to Jonah Hill because he cannot find it in his phone.
I'm an actor. This is supposed to be written for me, and then I speak. I know, I'm in deep sweat right now. This is a fella. I think he's one of the greatest comedic actors we have. Full stop. He doesn't just make you laugh, he makes you cry sometimes. Look at what all the phones are up. What's going on? I feel like Ariana Grande. This guy's a big shot. Wow. He's also writes and directs movies, done a few of those. You know him from Forgetting Sarah Martin. Yeah! Knocked Up, 40-Year-Old Virgin. Superbad, Moneyball, Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah! Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Jonah Hill. Yeah!
Now, I think, Jason Bateman sort of handled that pretty well. Everyone there, I'm sure, had a great night. That show is so much more popular than ours and so much more profitable. But could you imagine, Andrew? Could you imagine you and I doing a TBTL live event where some important material we needed was on one of our phones? I mean, that to me that's amateurish. I cannot believe that for all of the, again, all the profitability of the Smartless podcast, all of the people in attendance, the popularity of the show, that to me, what that feels like is someone who is an actor. And you and I have been saying off air to each other, a very fine actor who's great in DTF St. Louis. Don't get me wrong. I am a big Jason Bateman stan. But to me, that feels like someone who is a professional actor and only moderately cares about the podcast that he's one of the hosts of.
If you could do me a favor, please don't mention DTF St. Louis on this show, because I finished watching it this weekend and I cannot talk about it without getting choked up. It is that last episode. There are some scenes in that last episode that are just so. Yeah. I was texting some folks about it, just like it's that show. I feel like they really, really stuck the landing. And by the way, in that final episode, Jason Bateman's acting just really good,
phenomenal,
really
phenomenal stuff.
I think
Absolutely.
I said maybe we had a little. I think this was when we had like kind of a pre-TBTL before we started recording the other day, and we just did a whole.
We did
download
Thunder
on
Boys.
That.
We did an unrecorded Thunder Boys.
Exactly. And Genevieve wants clarification that she's encouraging you and I to do a Thunder Boys podcast, and then if we don't do it, then she will do it with me as a backup. She just wants
I feel like
somebody
us
to do
doing that podcast ends with us shirtless. Somewhere hugging.
Right. Exactly.
I'm trying to be vague here.
No,
I don't want to give.
I know. I almost riffed with you there. Then I was like, wait, I wanted. If you like Stephen Conrad, if you liked Patriot, if you trust, that show might not be for everybody, but if you think it might be for you, give it a shot. I think that it's good throughout. It's a short season. It's seven episodes long.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, did it wreck me. Genevieve was out on Friday or maybe Saturday, and I think it was Saturday night. And so we're always like trying to hand off dog duties, puppy duties, making sure that somebody's home or whatever. So I was like, okay, yeah. So I stayed home, and I can't just come downstairs and play darts or whatever because we stay upstairs with the puppy. And so anyway, I was just I'm like, oh, good. This is a good opportunity. I'll finish watching this. And it was one of those shows where I got done watching the final episode, and I just sat for a while. I just sat there. It's like, I don't know what to do. It left me, and again, it was very, very good, but it just deals with some pretty, as I said to a friend of ours, you knew it was going to be super sad, because you learn in the first episode that a death is going to be involved. Like, it's all in flashbacks anyway, so I know that. But, this is going to sound like I'm trying to be overly philosophical here, but why, when you're talking about stories like this, and I'm thinking about books as well as movies and TV shows, why are the stories that show the most beauty, why do you know that they're going to destroy you? Why are the shows that are the most beautiful inevitably going to be the most sad?
Yeah.
And I guess it's because, you can make
it's like when Lightning McQueen breaks down in the Pixar Disney animated movie Cars.
Life is a highway. Oh, wait, more Rascal. Wait, more Rascal. You do.
I need those flats a little more rascally.
I was too sharp there. Anyway,
no, but I'm with you. I'm with you. Like that particular. Again, it's hard to talk about it without. We definitely don't want to spoil anything for anyone who is thinking of watching it. But I'll just say, as a couple of guys who are the age that we are, I feel like that show be hitting. You know, about.
Friendship,
I can say friendship, male loneliness, right? Like that's not giving too much away. I think that's pretty obvious. And the thing is, it's a really, and you were saying this before you'd seen the final episode, but I think it's even more true. And this isn't spoiling anything. One of the things that's so amazing about the show is that no one is just one thing. No one is just one kind of person.
Exactly.
And that's a really charming thing about the show. And also that's also how real life is, but it kept me constantly fascinated by the show because the characters were shifting between episodes of what I thought I knew about them or what I thought their sort of job on the show was. They were going to be, that's the mean one, or that's the one who knows how to solve the mystery, etc. But it was a really, really, really well done show.
In fact, I'll even, as one last comment on this, if you're somebody who you're not sure if you're into it, and I will say this too, like, the story, this is going to sound silly, like the story very much involves the phallus, like very literally. Yes. I don't mean that figuratively. I mean literally. And so if that's something that's going to turn you off, or you're thinking, oh, maybe I'll sit down with the kids and watch this, maybe that's not one for the whole family to watch together. But it's not cheap laughs. It's not gross. It's not cheap laughs. It's not dick jokes. You know what I mean? Like it is. Yeah. It turns out there's a reason for it. But also, if you sit down and you watch, because the reason I'm being a little protective here is Genevieve sat down to watch it and didn't even make it through the first episode. Now, she didn't realize it was a Stephen Conrad thing, that it, came from the same mind that brought us Patriot, which is, something that, you and I did a whole podcast about and I love. And Genevieve likes Patriot a great deal. She's not as obsessed with it as we are. But all that is to say, Genevieve kind of didn't know the DNA of the show. She sat down to watch it, and she didn't make it through the first episode the first time because most of the characters are not super likable in episode 1. Not all of them, but most of them are not super likable. And you might just be like, you know what? Because I am like this.
Yeah.
I am sick of shows where nobody's likable. They usually take place in L.A., not St. Louis. But, there was, I think especially in the mid-2000s, there was just a whole slate of shows that took place of just selfish people in LA living like selfish lives, sort of, you know what I mean, or very like self-interested lives. Maybe I'm painting myself in a corner. I definitely think of Transparent being a big part of that. There was actually one with Will Arnett that you're just talking about that was, I think, called I Love L.A. or I Love California or something like that. It was just kind of like shallow people. And so you might start watching DTF St. Louis and just think like, I don't like these people. But it's the kind of storytelling I like a lot, because as more and more is revealed, it's not, nobody is one thing. People contain multitudes, and you get more context for everybody's journey on this show. And it doesn't absolve. It doesn't absolve anybody's negative traits, but it also gives you so much more context. And it's just, I don't know. Again, you're talking to, or you're listening to a guy blab, and who's like a 50-year-old white guy who has male friendships and whatever. Like, maybe it just hits for us at this time of life a certain way that it's maybe not quite as universal, but I do think that the storytelling is pretty unassailable. I think
it's one of the few shows where Genevieve yells at the TV, "I do care about your boner."
Do you have any voicemail?
Here I go once again with the email. Every week I hope that it's from a female. Oh man, it's not from a female.
All right, any emails or emails?
Oh, yes. This is a perfect little voicemail right here. I don't think the listener left their name, but you and I got into a conversation about KUMON recently because comedian Chris Fleming, not Christopher, right? Sorry, Chris. Doubted myself. Chris Fleming, we were talking about him. He's got this really funny stand-up piece that our friend, from a special that our friend Kat actually directed on Peacock. And it's, what is it called? It's called People with Hipster Hats Raising Kids or something, or People with Flat-Rimmed Hats Raising Kids.
Wide-brimmed hats?
Wide-brimmed hats, that's what it is, exactly. Just sort of a farcical look at modern parenthood from a certain sort of hipster set, and how those kids tend to behave in public. And one of the jokes is the parent saying to the kid, do you want to go to KUMON later? Which I always found confusing, because I didn't know, is KUMON a reward for kids? I always thought of it as a learning center of some
I wouldn't
sort.
think of it as a reward.
Yeah. So I'm not even sure I fully understand Chris's reference there. It's just maybe a funny thing to say. It makes me laugh. And you also mentioned that KUMON has that really strange logo. That
I think it's a strange logo because it portrays what looks like a sort of confused child. And I mean, I guess that's the before pick, right? They're like, if your child is feeling this way, well, the O in KUMON is a child. It's like a very kind of rudimentary drawing of a kid that looks confused, I guess.
And it looks like a child's drawing too, right? It's like very kind of.
Whereas you would, I guess that what their thought is like, if your kid is kind of having a tough time at school and they look like this, bring them in, versus, hey, your kid is like, we're not seeing the after photo, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
So here is a listener, and I don't think they left their name, with some answers for us.
Hey, dummies. I'm Time Bandadine, and listening to you talk about KUMON. My daughter actually does KUMON, and it's a math and reading program that's a supplement outside of your normal school activities. And it's especially helpful if you're doing the new math thing, which is all word problems. This is more like old school rote memorization. But anyhow, it's helpful. And in regards to the logo, I believe the logo is actually created by the KUMON founder's child. And that is why it looks kind of janky and weird, and it's supposed to represent the thinking and the moment before you have the aha when you figure something out.
Huh.
Anyhow, maybe you already talked about this. I'm about 3 weeks behind, but hope that clears it up if you didn't. Have a great day.
I think that is my fact-checking cuz right there. I find that interesting.
Do you think if I said the words KUMON Eileen, that could be a show title?
I think it could be. What did I slotted something in earlier, but I don't know that I was married to it.
KUMON Eileen.
Oh, that's probably better. I put
this moment.
I don't think we said it. I just put where there's a will, there's a ways, because of your.
Oh, I like that too. You know what? Maybe that's better than
I don't know.
Than
I'm
KUMON
putting
Eileen.
here. Let's see how we feel at the end of the show. Hey, speaking of the end of the show,
Yeah.
Luke, I think
How do you
we're
feel?
there. I didn't give myself enough time.
Yeah. That's gonna do it for today's late breaking episode.
Welcome
Again,
home.
thanks.
Welcome home,
Thank you
soldier.
Thank you for your patience.
Oh, sure. No, honestly, it was no problem. You know that.
We're going to be right back here tomorrow with more Imaginary Radio for all of you. So please do join us for that. In the meantime, have a great Tuesday, everybody. Go Mariners, and please remember, no mountain too tall.
And good luck to all.
Power out.